Hello, everyone. Hi, welcome to this week's session. So wonderful to see you all on the call. Let's just go across the screens, give us a wave. Hi, hello, everyone. Nice to see familiar faces and new faces and people joining all the time here. Okay. So those of you who've been on the call before will know how we run it. If you use the reaction button at the bottom bar, which puts your yellow hand up, that will bring you to my attention and I'll know that you want to come on the call to speak. And I do try to come to people who haven't spoken before, but I know we have our regulars who come on practically every time we run one of these. So yeah, quite often I'll also tune into you. Yes, I'm wearing my yellow today. I just wanted to give a bit of a plug to our stand in the park. Here's our flags, stand in the park. We started a stand in the park in Bakewell, in Bath Gardens, in the centre of Bakewell, which is near the Rutland Arms roundabout, if you know Bakewell. And we had our 4th week yesterday. We meet every week from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and it's just a really beautiful thing. I'm so pleased I initiated it. So we've got a really wonderful core forming who all live within walking distance of the flagpole in Bath Gardens. But also every week people come from all over to join us. So it's a really wonderful mix of people. So if you're ever in Bakewell, please do drop by every Sunday morning from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And if you're not in Bakewell, then find your own local stand in the park. And you can, on their website, a stand in the park. If you DuckDuckGo that, you will find the list of all of the locations. And if there isn't one near to you, then you can start your own. But it's just a great place to meet like-minded people. So I just really wanted to give a big plug to that. And also a big thank you to Amanda from the Lancashire Stand in the Park, who's kind of one of the organisers. And they tour around and they check into all of the local stands. And so they came along yesterday with their banners. And so that was great fun. So yes, I'm adopting a lot of yellow in my wardrobe. I wouldn't say it's one of my colors. People are starting to call me a narcissus. Oh, but I don't respond to name calling. Anyway, so that's just my little joke there. Anyway, I'm going to just read out. I'm always tuned into what shows up before one of these calls each fortnight, and that song, The Power of Love, was introduced into our local community support group by Jamie Madeley, and we sang it yesterday. We had a gathering yesterday afternoon, which was a wonderful, well, we tried to sing it. So I thought I'd play that today. And I'd also want to read out something that was, this is, I guess, it's a piece of channeled invocation, really, and it came into our eco community group this morning, so it feels appropriate to read this, because my sense is that we're moving into a new stage of this, because we started out speaking out and campaigning and resistance, and whilst I still believe we do need to share information and pattern interrupt, I think there's a whole bigger piece which is emerging, which is co-creating a different alternative future reality to the one they have planned. So I'm going to read this out and then I'm going to start coming round to you. So if you want to come on the call, put your yellow hand up in the reaction sign and I'll know to come to you. Okay, here we go. So this is a piece by Haruko Blue Star Child. And she is an artist and visionary who lives on Mount Shasta in California. When you are claiming your freedom from something, such as rules and laws by the authorities, you are giving the acknowledgement that they are having the power over you. So instead of claiming your freedom from some restrictions placed by others, You can choose simply to live free from within, simply stepping out of the restrictions with your choice in knowing that you are the authority. Escaping from anything outside of you is not empowering attitude and choice. Use your words wisely, choose your action wisely. You are powerful masters and creators, and you are the source of your own freedom. When you talk about something you don't want, even just think about it or speak its words, you are not only wasting your energy, you are also giving the energy to the things you don't want. Instead, focus on how you want and feel it fully and live it fully in every moment. Every one moment of your life is very important, and it creates such a powerful energy to determine your future. When you simply focus on what you want joyfully, you will create a new paradigm at a much faster rate in your earth time. And here is another important element. Joy creates your reality much efficiently and makes it easier and much lighter for you to move forward. Instead of claiming new rules and a change to new decisions from the authorities outside of you, choose to become your own authorities. Trying to fix the old is a waste of energy, so we advise you to focus on the new you feel in your hearts. And you have the power to call forth, to sum up your force and inspiration and ground them onto the new earth grid. And start creating what your spirit feels free, such as a new school system, a new healthcare system, a new company, and even a new government. Remember, you have the power and you are the authority in creating your own reality. Step into your power, even if you feel that your influence is small. The new energy will multiply once every one of you starts living from your inner authority. Start from your own life first, and then your energy and empowered choices will spread into your family and friends, and then to your community and country. Your future starts with you now. So I thought that was quite an inspiring thing for us to start with. So let's start coming around the group, and I'm going to come first to Tanya Maidment, and then I'm going to come to Sue Lister. So hi to Tanya.
Hello, Rachel. Thank you very much for coming to me. This is the first time I've put my camera on and I've been brave enough to share. I've been on a few of your calls and they've been so super supportful. So thank you. The reason I've been hesitant is because my partner is on a very different path to myself. And it's been very challenging, but I'm navigating through it. I have a couple of things I wanted to share and kind of reach out and ask for support. So the first is regarding kids and vaccines, and obviously I'm totally against it. He wants to, my 15-year-old son wants to, my 12-year-old daughter thankfully doesn't at the moment, but is worried about peer pressure. So yeah, I'm just kind of not sure how to navigate this. They just think I'm crazy whenever I come out with anything now, so it's been challenging. So that was my first kind of issue question, reaching out for support. The second one was I've got together with some amazing people in our local community. We've been meeting up, we've been connecting, but I really feel now it's time to do something more practical, more proactive, getting together to create a steering committee, future planning, skill sharing. So just kind of looking for some ideas and some guidance on that really as well. And yeah, great to be here. Thank you so much. And if anybody's got any suggestions or support or want to reach out and connect on similar paths, I'd really love that.
Yeah, thank you, Tanya. And I'm sure those concerns are echoed by so many people about when you're in these situations where you're awake to what's going on, but your partner or others in your family aren't. And the brainwashing has been so extensive. I just want to say locally, one of our Stand in the Park members, Russell, was saying that here in Bakewell, although they haven't started jabbing the kids in school, and I've actually sent a cease and desist letter notice to the headmaster of my school, and apparently every headmaster in the entire country has been written to by lawyers with cease and desist orders, putting them on personal responsibility under common law, that if they push through, they have a responsibility for the outcomes. But in Bakewell, apparently, they've started jabbing the kids, the 12 to 16-year-olds, at the local surgery. Now, whether that's all of them or whether that's vulnerable ones, I'm not quite sure. But what I do know is that a boy collapsed after the jab in the surgery this week. So I'm strongly considering issuing cease and desist letters to every GP in the local practice, because I feel that we really need to cut the tail off the snake, and that's what they're doing in Australia, the Australia project. So putting the responsibility on those who are actually administering the jabs, and creating enough of a hesitancy in them to not carry out, even if they do get the orders from the government. But my feeling is, now that the JCVI, I think that's how, JCVI or JVCI, now that they've actually come out and said that it shouldn't be done, I think that the government is going to be really exposed if it tries to bulldoze it through. Yes, so lots of empathy for you there, Tanya, and I'm sure others will have something to contribute on that as well, because this is the point of this course. I just want to say, it's not like I'm the authority. This is a co-creative collaboration, and so we're tapping into the wisdom of the network here. Okay, so let's come to Sue Lister next.
Hi everyone, and hi Rachel, thanks for this every week, every fortnight. I'd like to mention a public meeting that we're holding in central Manchester on this coming Saturday, the 18th of September. It's called What's Wrong with Vaccine Passports, and it's to be held at the Central Library, which is very central, not at the Central Library, sorry, at the Friends Meeting House, which is behind the Central Library. And we've got 5 speakers lined up, and they are Dr. Claire Craig, who's a diagnostic pathologist and member of the Health Advisory Recovery Trust, and that's HEART, as a lot of you will know. We've got Dr. Ross Jones, who's a retired paediatrician and HEART member, Dr. Colin Alexander, who's a senior lecturer in political communications at Nottingham Trent University, Jen Ayling, who's a psychotherapist and co-founder of Therapists for Medical Freedom, and Nick Kenton, who's the owner of the Pier Hat Bar and Music venue in the Northern Quarter. So it's free to attend. Everyone is welcome. We're looking to welcome people who are perhaps starting to ask questions, but also people like ourselves who have been on this journey for quite a while. And, you know, it's a way to strengthen our network. So as I say, everyone's welcome. You can make donations if you want to, but it is free.
Cool. Well, thanks, Sue, for that. I have in my diary actually that there's a freedom rally in Manchester. Does that clash with it, or is it?
Yeah, sadly it will. And unfortunately, when we booked the venue and started to book the speakers, we weren't aware of the march, which is a real shame. But we've decided to go ahead with it. So I'm in Manchester, just answering the questions on the chat. It starts at 12 lunchtime, finishes at 4, and we do have a social afterwards. We've hired out the Sandbar, which is in the Northern Quarter in Manchester.
Nice.
So everyone will have a really warm welcome. If you turn up on your own, I'll be on the door. So I know it's daunting walking into a room full of strangers. So I'll be there. And if you can't attend, please pass this on to anyone you know who might be interested.
Thanks, Sue.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's wonderful to see and hear of all of these events being organised, these events, the Hold the Line events, and all of the workshops and the common law workshops and the information that is being pumped out now. So I'm going to come next to Alex Miles. I'd love to hear an update from you, Alex. Alex is a care worker who's refused the jab and who's been on before. How are things in your world, Alex?
Interesting. I'm basically on here to almost ask for a little bit of help from everyone in a way. I can't give too many details because it's all being put into confidentiality, and I don't know. I don't know if anyone on here is actually going to be at a certain meeting that's going to be happening with people this week, so I'm just trying to be on the safe side. This is like the week which sort of decides what's going to happen. So what I'm asking for people is if people could have a prayer for the health workers in this sort of situation. Originally, it was going to be the 11th of November, but what we've been told, that if you don't have the first dose by the 16th, you're gone. You're just gone.
Wow.
And I was told this about a week and a half ago. I've not had any official letter about it. All the letters I've had are still mentioning the 11th of November. So if things don't go our way this week, I've got a group now of about 27 people together. And I just hope they've all joined Workers of England Union, because I think it's the only chance we really have. There's a lot of letters they've done basically detailing the legal standpoint of this, and it's really interesting. Basically, anyone who actually enforces this law is breaking umpteen other laws as well. It's not legal under any circumstances. So to put it in perspective, the law says, actually openly says it's a secondary legislation. But when you consider the Equality Act, the Health Act, the Data Protection Act, all trumps it. It cannot succeed. It cannot succeed. And what's sort of happening is lots of coercion, lots of threats to do it. And I know people have already sort of like decided, I'm just going to have it because of the blackmail they're getting. Now, the law is actually on our side on this. And what needs to happen is people need to understand what those rights are. So that's why the Workers of England Union are sort of helping out. I don't know how well they're doing right now. I know they're really, really busy. But I do think there's a chance. But we need to stand our ground, know our rights, and actually be really strong about it, know our case. Because at the end of the day, I got a letter from work the other day saying the law is clear on this. Now, that's the biggest joke I've ever heard in my life, because I know of 6 different primary bits of legislation and international law which goes against it. Because at the end of the day, the only way they can force this happen on someone is by a nurse having to commit a crime of assault and battery, because it's coercion.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of a joke in a way, but really, really bad joke. So basically, businesses seem to be completely up in the sky. They don't seem to have done any risk assessments. I've been told they've done a risk assessment, but how can they do a risk assessment on someone who has a heart condition without them being in the same room? It's because of the Data Protection Act. I don't need to say what my health condition is, so I can say I've got a health condition.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
And when you consider that my GP called me an anti-vaxxer when I asked the questions, when I tried getting in contact with my cardiologist, couldn't get in contact with them at all. It was just everybody needs it. Well, no questions or anything. How can I get informed consent? And there was actually a court case in 2015 called Montgomery versus Lanarkshire, which states that if you cannot have informed consent, it is automatically a medical exemption.
Yeah.
And I know people who have been told, who have got needle phobias, and say this isn't a relevant exemption. However, the Equality Act states that you cannot discriminate against people with mental health. So it will be a medical exemption, otherwise you're discriminating against someone, because the Equality Act legislation, it trumps all these regulations. It is a bit of a joke, a really bad joke, very seriously bad joke. Go for it, Rachel.
Sorry, Alex. Yeah, I can see you're getting into the story of this, but I think it's really important that you are holding that resistance, because if you crumble, then it's just going to spread to more and more mandates of compulsory vax, isn't it? So it's so important, because you're not just doing it for you and for care workers, you are putting a spanner in the works for every other employer, every other sector that decides, oh, I know, let's make it mandatory. And I did notice in New York that actually there's a hospital there that has stopped delivering babies because all of the midwives have resigned. Because
there are now businesses in the care sector actually giving the contracts back to the government because it's not
Interesting. Yeah.
it's not sustainable. So
the power of the people, this is the practical power of the people to just say, no, we do not consent. And I think the next stage on from this, and it was interesting because at the Bakewell stand yesterday, there was an NHS trained midwife turned doula who had been assigned to manage the birth for a woman who's having a baby who doesn't want it anywhere near the NHS, doesn't want it registered, wants to deliver her baby completely outside the system. So what is happening is we're creating this whole alternative economy. That's my sense of what's going to be born out of this, a complete alternative economy, which in time will grow to be the economy.
Yes,
of the future.
I completely agree. I mean, I'm very much by profession a psychotherapist myself, but the only reason why I don't have that many clients is because I've never really had capacity because I'm not looking after my 3 kids. But I've got my log cabin now built, so that's going to change. And I'm really intrigued about what was said a few minutes ago regarding therapists for medical freedom. So I'm going to look into that as well.
Yeah.
And basically, I think we all need to really stand our ground. I mean, I'm being told, Alex, where do you get your strength from? It's like, over the last few weeks, I'll be honest with you, I've been so tearful over the slightest thing my wife could tell you. But the thing is I'm doing this not just for, I was called selfish the other day by a friend, actually, but that's a different story, but, which is so funny, it's hilarious. But the thing is, if people like me who sort of stand their ground, I mean, my background's business studies as well, so I know a few more things of my rights anyway, because I used to manage them all the time. And if I don't do this, I'm not doing my duty under common law. And that's the important thing.
Yes.
Are we doing our duty under common law for each other? I mean, I might be someone who I'm a very big believer in the individual, but what that's about is individual responsibility, individual respect for each other person as an individual. And at the end of the day, we all need to work together under common law in order to try and beat this thing. Now, there are people out there who I don't think we will ever get through to at all under any circumstances, because they just completely have stopped thinking rationally about a situation. And interestingly, it seems to be all my colleagues from my old university stuff of that sort of level. Yeah. It's really interesting. We're taught to critically analyze, but we're not critically analyzing, which is just weird. But primarily, I think if any of you can help with some prayer this week, it would be so beneficial to us, I think, because if we can sort of send a collective message out into the universe, maybe we can change this thing. And because as far as I'm concerned, and I love 300 quotes sort of thing, so it's got to stop here somewhere. You know, this is few against many. Okay, Alex, thank you. And so, yes, our prayers, our thoughts will be with you. And thank you for taking that stand and being so strong and standing up, just not for you, but the rights of others. Okay, thanks for coming on. I'm going to come next to the lady. It just says iPhone. She's sitting in a white room with a blue and yellow cushion on a grey sofa with a cup of tea. I don't think you've been on before. Hello.
That's me.
Hi. What's your name?
Marianne.
Marianne, hi.
Hi. Yeah, I've been on them before, but I've always been quiet.
Okay.
Yes, and I just thought today I'll just say hello. And yes, I used to be a care worker, but I left in February. And now working in a cafe. Very different, but free. And luckily I have a awake boss, so I'll never have any, things put on me. I didn't have to wear a mask and all those kind of things. Yes, I by the way, I'm part-time also a complementary therapist, do healing work, and have done this for 20 years. And when you do that work and see things happen that according to medical science shouldn't happen, you already start thinking of life very differently, that people get better that have been like ill for 10 years. And 10 years ago, I went to America, and driving along, I was listening to a guy that takes people into the mountains. He hikes for like 3-4 weeks. And I was there in August, and he said that in the April he went into the mountains, and he said where normally he would be knee deep in snow, now there were spring flowers, and he said it's never happened to him before, and he'd been doing that for 30 years. And he said at the time, if we allow nature to evolve as the way it's supposed to evolve, we'll be all right. But if we try and make it evolve how we think it's supposed to evolve, we're going to be in big trouble. And I really think this is where we are at the moment. That made such an impression on me then. And of course, with COVID, I was not, a bit like you, I was not aware of any of this stuff. And of course, in what I saw in the care world and what's happening, I started questioning things. I just now know so many more things and all the Agenda 21, and but I feel similar to you that we just all have to stand our ground.
Yeah.
As individuals, we can't do an awful lot, but we can hold on to our own power and our own strength.
Yes.
And I really feel like even in the cafe where I work now, I feel things are shifting. I think people are changing. I think more and more people now start speaking to us. More and more people coming in without masks now. And yes. I do think there's a very, very big shift happening. And and I also hear more. So I've been going to, I went to the stand in the park, local stand in the park yesterday. So, I really feel the groups are all growing quite.
Yeah, definitely. Every day, more and more people awakening, like popping popcorn, and once they're awake, they don't go back. So it's only a matter of time before that reaches the critical mass and everyone gets it. And then it's game over for the system, and they know it.
Yeah, but I've got 3 sons, similar age to your boy, and mine are 25, 27, and 28. And I found out the other day that I'm definitely on my middle one has had his first one.
Yeah.
And I think the other 2 have as well, but they won't talk to me about it because they just think I've gone a bit extreme. And that was quite a sad moment, because they always said to me, oh no, we're not worried about it and we'll just wait. And as soon as they announced the vaccine passport for September, I think this is when they've gone and booked their appointments.
Oh dear. Well, let's hope they had the placebo. That's what I always say to people. Let's hope you had the placebo shot.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that for Alex, because the care home I came out of, so I used to care for severely disabled children. And I know that my old manager was not going to have the vaccine. So I spoke to one of my ex-colleagues the other day and I said, oh, what's happening to her? Is she? And she said, oh, that company is not going to enforce the mandate.
Okay.
So because I know they're already, because the work I did there is really because we have non-verbal children that can't communicate and can't eat, and like a tracheostomy child. So they really are always understaffed anyway. And I think they probably are worried they're going to lose more staff.
Yeah, definitely.
So she said to me that that care home is not going to reinforce it. So there might be other places as well.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, thank you. Thanks for coming on and sharing with us. Good to see you. Thank you. Okay, next I'm going to come to James Hunt. Hi, James. You're due to come to see me tomorrow, aren't you? So nice to see you on the call.
Yes, indeed. I'm with you tomorrow.
Hi.
So I just wanted to pick up on this comment about complaining. So I wrote a letter last Thursday to the senior partner of the Chipping Camden Surgery. So I've spent probably 15, 20 years as a lawyer learning how to complain, I've concluded.
Right.
Now, this was a 10-page letter. So working within the system to challenge the system, I think could be very powerful. I mean, I like the notice of liability idea under common law, but to work within the system, I think you then put the system under phenomenal pressure.
Yes.
So I wrote to Jackie Williams, who was the senior partner. I copied it to the 3 doctors who are the named doctors at the surgery. I copied it to the 4 nurses who work in the surgery. I copied it to the practice manager. I then copied it to the chief constable of Gloucestershire. And I popped into Stowe police station and spoke to the delightful Iona Black WPC from Romania. She spoke 4 languages, and she took the complaint very seriously and took my 100 pages of evidence.
Wow.
And that evening, I then wrote to the chief executive of the Care Quality Commission, the chief executive of the General Medical Council, and I've already written to by email to Ron Hansen, who is the chief constable, and I'll be following him up. And yesterday, we created our own stand in the park next to the home of the MP for the Cotswolds.
Wow.
And I managed to knock on his door, deliver him a copy of the GP's letter. I invited him to come and stand in the church car park. He didn't take up the invitation.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? To do the stands outside the homes of the culprits.
Yes.
I mean, it just really bringing it close to home. I'm not in favor of anything which is any form of intimidation, but nonetheless, I do feel that making these people uncomfortable, I can just imagine all these bulging mailbags across the country, because so many people are keeping so much pressure on consistently now. That's my sense. So well done, James, for that.
And if I could just mention one thing, I put on the chat bar something I called the Pyramid of Piffle.
Right.
In honor of De Piffle, or whatever his middle name is.
Okay.
There's a wonderful video. I don't know whether you put it on your link, Rachel, but there's a wonderful video that this lady has put on. She's a sociologist, and it's a pool of liquid, and then a separate bowl, which is a pyramid of sugar cubes.
Oh, yes, I have.
Have you seen that one? It's magical.
Where it just collapses dissolves into.
Yeah, because what she said was she hadn't realised that the pyramid of Piffle is collapsing. And I'm sure it is. And it is just going to come down on itself.
Yes, that's my sense now, because it's not just people are questioning the government, the people are questioning the entire system, which is why that reading this morning I did felt so, we are literally starting to dream of a completely different way of being on the planet. Health, education, childbirth, policing, government, governing, economies.
Complete reset, to use a word.
Yeah, but a different one to the great reset that Klaus Schwab has in mind for us, which is basically transhumanism. Okay, thanks, James, for coming on, and look forward to seeing you in person tomorrow. Yeah, okay. Let's come to Leanne next. I know there's lots of familiar faces wanting to get on, Sass and Siddiqa and Deborah, and Peter of the Awakened, but let's come to some new people. Leanne, hi.
Hi, Rachel. I haven't been on for a while. I just wanted to say quickly, I just, as I was popping around, I just went on my email and I've already got my exemption form signed by a doctor. I don't know whether people are aware that promic.info, there's a doctor there signing the forms if you're part of the plus the vaccine control group. So I don't know if people are aware of that, but the forms come back already. Now, I'm not saying that I agree with having to have an exemption. It actually makes me feel rather uncomfortable. And I'm hoping I never have to use it, but I've armed myself, and I am arming myself as well as I can. So I just wanted to let people know that although I don't feel completely comfortable with it, and I don't think we should have to justify why we don't want to take this, that there are ways of just making yourself, just feel that bit more sort of comfortable. So it's promic.info, but you have to be part of the vaccine control group. Now, I know I'm just going to say this last thing, that people are a little bit wary of it, but I can totally say that it's totally legit. I know that some of the people, personally, I have personal.
Oh, Leanne, you're freezing there. Or is that me or is that you? I think Leanne's maybe frozen there. Yeah, so basically this is the vaccine control group, and I have seen those little cards that you join this group where basically you elect to be one of the observed control group that doesn't have the vaccine, and it gives you the entitlement to refuse all jabs. So that's an interesting one. Maybe Leanne, you could put the link in the chat as you've frozen there. Okay, I'm going to come next to Ravi. Great to see Ravi on. Now, Ravi supplies me with a lot of juicy information, which I often share on Rachel Speaks Out. Ravi is an amazing sound healing musician, medicine man. Let's
Can you
come
hear
to
me?
Ravi. Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Hey, Ravi.
Hi. Great to be on finally. Thoroughly enjoyed the last one. Yes, I just want to share that my way of contributing, what I call a positive contribution to what's gone on in the last 18 months, has been, I kind of came after kind of about 3 or 4 months when the kind of things started to open up slightly. And then I heard that from on high, the powers that be, that you're not allowed to sing with others. My reaction was to go in the opposite direction, and having studied indigenous communities and other cultures for a long time, and realizing that of course this has been endemic part of who we are as humans and communities since time immemorial, including dancing, just celebration, ways of staying connected. I've developed 2 formats to help people reconnect with their voices, singing voices within a community situation, and it's helped me to feel much better about feeling like I've actually done something in the sort of the kind of one heart at a time approach. Because having also been a studier of music in its in the modern world, of course there's the question within the musical community is, well, where's all the protest songs gone? We were in our sort of generation, it was protest songs were always around, and and of course, as we know, there's just been a few. You can count them on 2 hands at the maximum, pop stars or whatever that have spoken out. And of course, Eric Clapton famously only spoke out after he almost died.
Yeah.
So this has been, obviously on my mind, and so this has been my way of bringing it back. And actually, it's turned out, because I've just basically never stopped over the last 18 months, just finding anything that moved, any doors that opened. Gardens, yurts, yoga centers, whatever, including back to where I was brought up in the Northwest. And this is one particular plug I'd like to share, which is, I'll put it in the chat, which is a wonderful Conscious Unity Festival. It's going to be in the renowned bombed out church in Liverpool on the 25th of September. If you want to come, and there's going to be all sorts of things going on, including lots of wonderful music. So I'm going to be sharing this formula, which takes people on a singing journey, as my contribution. And I always love coming back up north, so I'm going to be doing a few events like the Heaven on Earth Yoga Centre on the Sunday, the 26th as well. So yeah, and I feel like it's like I said, this positive response to what's going on has been my way of contributing, and I feel like it's really starting to grow now, and to join other forces that are really supporting this kind of voice movement. And also, just finally, I remembered that when I was in the Baltics, particularly in Estonia, the people told me themselves that I'd always heard that they sang the Russians out of the country when the Iron Curtain came down, and of course famously when they held hands over 3 countries and sang. This was part of kicking the Russians out, and it was like, well, hold on a second, where, you know, this is an extraordinary power that we have available. And also there's an idea that will slowly, hopefully, start to come into fruition, which is a conscious freedom choir. I know there's some great choirs out there, but, you know, and I've heard about, you know, online choirs and whatnot, but, you know, for me, it has to be in the physical. The online, of course, is great for things like this, and if you want to connect to people all over the world at the same time, but it's important we stay in contact with this, with the physical.
Yes.
Things like this, and the power of sound, the power of voice. It's an incredible power, and so you know, if anybody wants to connect with that, I've got a Telegram group that's some friends of mine have started now for things like this. If anyone wants to know the link, I'll send it, and that's it.
Cool, Ravi. Thank you.
Thank you for all your amazing work, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you, Ravi. And please put all those links in the chat, because the chat goes out to everyone who's registered for the call. So I don't curate it, I just send it out to everyone. And just to say, you know, because obviously I've got 5 sons, they do send me lots of rap videos of people like rappers, so they're kind of generation of music. So there are a lot of people putting together really powerful rap songs. But I agree, this use, you know, sound and music is such a powerful, you know, creating that harmonic resonance where the powers that be are just trying to create dissonance through fear the whole time, and to bring back that resonance is super powerful antidote. So thank you, Ravi.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
No.
Okay, I'm going to come to DNG next, and then I'm going to come to Sass, because I'm sure Sass is dying to add. Sass is also a sound healer, and we'll come to Sass after Deanne.
Hi, Rachel. Oh, thank you for this beautiful space. It's so lovely to see so many faces that I know as well. Your event sounds amazing, Ravi. Hopefully I'll be able to come to that. I wanted to just talk about a couple of things. One of them is the government announcement that they're going to scrap the passports. What I understand from this is we're probably going to go into lockdown in October around the 25th. So that's my understanding of why they're doing that. They're not actually scrapping them, they're just making it look like that so they can give everyone this false sense of security again, and then they're going to put us into lockdown where no one's going to need them anyway because everything will be shut down. So I just wanted to kind of warn people about that, really, unless, I don't know, maybe some of you already know, but just to kind of get organised and get your house in order, so to speak, for around the 25th of October. Obviously, I'm going to be complying.
Well, that's it. I mean, I am just at that point now personally with all of my groups and communities, and we will just proceed to live a normal life and absolutely stand in our common law rights. I have a common law contract which I carry around in my handbag. If I'm arrested or someone attempts that, it's like this is how much I charge per minute, and you are entering into a contract. You have I do not consent. You have no jurisdiction over me under human rights. So that I think it would be interesting that if they do try this lockdown, I think that they're going to get a very different response, because there will be just people who just say, forget it, enough. And there is that campaign, enough is enough.
Absolutely. I really hope, most of us just put our foot down and just say no, we're just not going to comply. This
is the importance of creating the alternative economy, and this is one thing I'm my background is obviously business, is of creating that alternative economy of, pubs, restaurants, cafes, therapists, places that are just non-compliant and just are not going to go along with the government diktats, anymore. We have to create the alternative future reality. That's the only way forward now. And I totally agree. I think they're attempting to lull us into a false sense of security. And so we all the resistance eases off and thinks, oh, well, we don't need to bother anymore because we're winning. But the true, to me, the true aim now is to create a complete alternative future reality, and just for us to bulldoze that through now, regardless of what they do. So thanks for raising that, Deanne, and good to see you on here.
It's lovely to be here. I always get nervous about speaking on things like this for some reason. I'm fine in my own groups, but when it comes to being on Zoom, I don't know what it is. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to say is I'm in Stoke-on-Trent for anybody here that might be near me, and I'm running like a gathering on a Friday night. I have events every couple of weeks with guest speakers. Rachel's been one of my speakers. We had a fabulous event. I do it at my home in the garden, and Sass was here last week, and she was absolutely fabulous with her sound healing. It was such a nourishing day for all of us. So yeah, if anyone's interested in being a speaker or coming to any of my events, I'm in Stoke-on-Trent, and I really want to create as much as I can that's supportive in the space that I've got, because yeah, nothing is going to stop me basically. Cool. And I also just wanted to mention that when everything was really dark at the beginning of 2021 and we were kind of getting over the shock of 2020, I created a group that were basically gathering in secret, knocking on my patio door at whatever time of night in the dark, and gathering to really support each other, come up with ideas of how we were going to move through this. And that then formed the Stoke group, which formed the Stand in the Park in Stoke as well. So I just feel that every single one of us on this group is capable of doing what I've done. So if you haven't started a group in your area, then absolutely do it, because there are people that just really need to know that there are people near them that think the same, feel the same.
Yeah.
You know, and even those who are just kind of on the fence and are not quite sure, if they've got a space to go where they can just hear some alternative ideas and just feel some kind of level of support and understanding, you know, it's really going to help this wave of us that are clearly very awake, very alert to what's happening. Our intuitions are working overtime, you know, and we just kind of all need each other now more than ever, I would say.
Yeah.
So
I agree, Deanne. Thank you for making that point, and thanks for coming on. That's what some people say, that so often there's no one where I live who feels the same way as me, but it's amazing because there are, and they just don't have an outlet for it. Like yesterday, 2 people from my my old village of Yulgrave appeared at our Stand in the Park, which is where I was, and they didn't even know one another, and they didn't know of me until this week. I managed to get our picture in the Peak Advertiser, so our Stand in the Park, totally innocuous, but people saw it, and you know, more people were coming through seeing it. So there are ways to slip under the radar. Okay, Sass, let's come to you. Sass, can you unmute? Yeah, there we go. Oh, you're not mute. You're not unmuted, Sass. You need to unmute yourself. Yes.
I think there's been a lot.
Yes,
of
there we go.
I think there's been a lot of muting and unmuting going on, and I think that generally goes for what's happening on the planet, isn't it? You want to mute me, I'm going to unmute myself. What a fantastic weekend! There was Rebels on the Roundabout. Obviously, I was at Diane's on Tuesday. There was the Rebels on the Roundabout, and I went and collected all these boards, and it was so interesting because there was a whole thing going on Saturday, but nobody seemed to be organised whatsoever. So there was all these different groups, and nobody had anywhere where anyone was meeting. So I'm sure there were some that were organised, but I kept seeing all these things popping up on Telegram. And then I said to a friend of mine, do you know what? Maybe we should just do something. And she said, yeah, but it's Thursday and it's on Saturday. I said, it doesn't matter. Just put the energy. Even if we've got one person, we can share the boards out with 3 of us, and we can just go up the A34 where all these people are coming from the motorway, and we'll just stand there. And so we sort of put a bit of energy around it, and we honestly, loads of people turned up. And what I realized is that just people want to be led. There need to be more leaders that are prepared to stand up and be brave and just do something. It doesn't matter if you only get 2 or 3 people, because the amount of people that came past us up the hill, and the majority of them were really, really positive. Obviously, we've got a few that were shouting nutters and various other things, but I did have a little word with my group, and I said, right, before we go onto the road, we need to put on our rhinoceros skin, like I used to when I was a saleswoman, and you have to sort of barge through places and not allow, and just let it wash off you. But what a fantastic experience it was, because all the people, it brought all the joy to the people that were doing it, especially me, because I had one of these very loud horns that someone had given me. So we got loads of complaints from people coming across saying, why are you making all this noise? And then they ended up bringing us water and oranges, and it was absolutely fantastic. So we really got rooted the support. So that's what I wanted to say, was that we just need some more people prepared to lead and step up and stand up, because obviously there's a stand in the park, and it's like creating spiders' webs.
Yes.
And people come and catch onto the web, and then the webs grow, and eventually this huge web's going to connect up with everybody else, a web of light. That's how I see it. And all the things that you're saying, all the different infrastructure that we're building on the web, is all the alternative awakened lives, as I call it. Maybe someone could put up build a directory called Awakened Lives. So we have all of the people across the planet, if you want, but especially localized and in this country, who are part of the Awakened Lives, whatever business, whatever shops, all the local farm shops, we can include all of those. And we just build this whole new network. And I can see it happening. I can see it visualizing. On the other hand, the division seems to be getting stronger, because they had a grab a jab day at the local medical center, and they caused mayhem in the local town, Macclesfield, where I live, because they were queuing out the doors for this grab a jab and causing mayhem. I just could not believe it. So you can see on one hand, people are just so desperate to get these jabs because they think this vaccine passport. And of course, if we don't comply, it's not going to happen. And we heard yesterday that they've suspended them. So it is working, because even if we can just push it off, we can get more people in the web of light. And eventually it's so strong. And then, like with Ravi and myself and lots of other people that do sound, I start doing in Stand in the Park, we do our sound stuff, where I just show them how you can use a particular sound to stop anyone dead in their tracks. And if we can build upon that, the sound, we can just build a sound wave where it cannot be penetrated by anyone who's not awakened, but it could also allow people to come in who want to awaken.
Yes.
So there's loads of things we can do. It just takes a few brave souls to stand up, and I couldn't believe how many people joined us. I mean, it was only about 25, 30, but in one day we managed to build up the interest, and just all they needed was someone to say, this is where we're going to meet. This is what we're going to do. Wear your your yellow jackets. And it was just fun. I don't know if you saw Dennis's, you were on with Dennis, weren't you, the other day doing an interview?
Yes, he sent me the video. I haven't watched it, the Congleton one.
It's quite funny. It's quite amusing, because Dennis just drove in his car. He's got a soft top, and he just drove up the hill really slowly, whilst friends of mine were pressing the Pelican Crossing to stop all the traffic. We kept going across it, stopping the Pelican Crossing, and then when all our signs were out, they couldn't escape. But it was quite, you have to kind of make things fun as well, because otherwise it gets too serious and too dirgy, isn't it? We need to lift and lighten the vibration and the energy. So yes, gather together in groups, even if it's only small ones. And yes, the sounds are just fantastic. I will share the sound, but it doesn't come across very well over here, and it will blast people, because you have to prepare people to stand and open your voices. You have to open your voice. So that's what we need to prepare people for, is to clear that throat energy with that nice blue turquoise and the great sound. And then the solar plexus gets the power of that sound out. So cool. Yes, anyone can find me on my Sonic Sass on a Telegram, and I will put out the sound on there for you so you can practice at home.
Okay.
So yeah, Sonic Sass on Telegram, and I will do a recording of the sound, and then we can all practice in our own way. And then when we come together, we're all prepared to sound it out.
Cool.
So yes, something practical we can all do.
Okay, thanks, Sass. Good to hear from you. Okay, so we're coming up to 1 o'clock. I know lots of people want to speak. I'm going to come to Carol Duckfield, and then I'm going to come to Dee Sunshine. It's good to see you on the call, Dee. And sorry, I can't get everyone on. We could go on, but I know that people, we kind of set the time from 12 to 1. So Carol, hi.
Morning. I've got a slightly different question. I'm quite involved in lots of areas, but I'm looking at trying to get some of my pension out, but I'm not quite sure what to do with it. And if anybody's looking at that, I'm not quite aware of the finance and monetary bits. Are anybody looking about how that's going forward? Because I've not really seen much online, so to speak.
Well, that's another whole can of worms to open up about what's going to happen with the economy, digital currency, lots of people going into crypto, lots of people buying silver and gold. We did have on last week's call, actually, there was a really interesting, and I forget her name, she was going through about particularly buying gold and silver in small pieces that you could actually use as currency.
It's more like, do we know of any really ethical banks or institutes that exist? Because I've seen a little bit. Is it Anna Rees? She's had a bit about finding banks that have good ethics behind them. And I just wondered if anybody started doing that in the UK.
Well, I think the bigger question is what's going to happen with economies and currencies, and will currencies collapse? I mean, that's the bigger issue. And I've certainly been turning money into resources. So making sure that I've got lots of supplies of everything, you know, ways to cook if the system goes down, and just making sure that we're, you know, well stocked and equipped, at least in the short term.
A need maybe of helping other businesses that want to be awakened, maybe being a platform to help them get kicked off. But again, I wouldn't know quite how to go about that.
Yeah. Well, if anyone's got any links for Carol, please put them in the chat in the last few minutes we've got. I'm sure there's Telegram groups dedicated to that as well, Carol. So I'm sure we'll have some resources for you. And let's just come to Dee just to close, to come up to the 1 o'clock.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, hello. Hi, Dee. How are you doing?
I'm okay, yeah, I'm doing all right. I wanted to share something with people because a lot of the talk's been about practical applications which are tangible in the real world and stuff. One of the things I've been working a lot with recently is prayer and the power of prayer. And one of the things that I've been doing is creating a bubble of light around me wherever I go. And I like to expand this out and imagine this bubble of light as something that is of a healing quality. And that anybody that passes through this bubble of light will be uplifted by it. Sounds a little bit woo, I'm sure, but I wanted to share also with you that one of the other things I've been doing is praying for difficult people in my life. This is something that I learned from Buddhist practice. It's a practice called Metta Bhavana, but I've kind of taken a little bit of a Christian flavor to it, even though I'm not a Christian. And that is anybody that causes me any difficulty in life, I pray for them. And I had a real tangible experience of how that actually worked. With the site owner of this caravan site where I live, she had been particularly difficult. And she really is what one would call a difficult person. And the other day after, I think I prayed for her 3 mornings in a row, she came up to my caravan door, knocked on it, apologized for being difficult, and she was all soft and warm. And it was the first time I've ever seen her soft and warm. And one of the things I think about is think of all these politicians that we do not like, the ones that are causing us problems. What if we actually started praying for them and earnestly praying for their well-being, praying that they soften, pray that their minds open, pray that they feel more inclined to tell the truth and stuff like that. And it's something I'm definitely going to experiment with. I'm going to choose a politician every morning and include them in my prayers. The first one's going to be Nicola Sturgeon. Okay, because she's been a huge disappointment to me, an absolutely huge disappointment. But it's something I just want to spread as an idea, is that, and not just, you know, politicians and business people and Klaus Schwab and all the rest of them, but also the difficult people in your lives personally. I really am a huge advocate of prayer. I've seen it so many times when it's worked. I've been using this for about 10 years. About 10 years it's been part of my spiritual practice. I do it before I get on my yoga mat every morning. So I just wanted to share that as a way forward, something to add into all the other things that people are doing. Okay.
Thank you, Dee. That's a very sweet note to end on. And yes, I'm all in favour of things that work to shift the energy and to unblock. Because as Sass was saying, I know some people who did the hold the line outside Derby, and whilst most people were hooting the horn and like yay, 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 there were a lot of people giving them the finger and real rudeness, and so there is that wave of anger that is needs to be diffused in some way.
I don't think we can win anyone over by making them feel like shit. You know, I think the only way forward is to try to make people feel good, and by spreading love and positive vibes and all the rest of it. I've watched quite a few protests online and seen people shouting and punching policemen and all the rest of it. And if I was a pro-vaccination person and I watched that on the television, these were the people that were anti-vaccination, it's not going to convince me in any way, shape or form that I'm wrong in my outlook. I'd be absolutely convinced I was right and that these violent nutters were completely wrong. I think we really have to think about how we present ourselves. And I think our, you know, aside from the prayer, I think we've really got to work at persuading people. And the only way we can persuade people is in non-confrontational manners, you know. I liked your thing about doing a stand in the park outside some MP's house. Was it? I can't remember who said it, whether it was you or who it was.
James Hunt, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think, you know, just to do things, but to be friendly, to be mannerly, but to make your point. You know, but I think that the violence and the shouting and the noise, it puts me off, and I'm anti-vax, you know.
Okay, Dee, thank you for that. And thanks for coming on. Okay, so let's just come back to the screens. Sorry, I couldn't get more people on today, but I did try and get people who haven't spoken recently or who are new to the calls. So sending you lots of love. Thank you for joining. Let's just come across, see who we've got on here. Nice to see so many of you. And so please do come on again in 2 weeks' time. So that will be on the 27th, Monday, 12 noon. And yeah, just keep holding the faith and keep shining the lights. Lots of love. Bye for now.